and welcome to Awaken Your Human Design. My name is Moni. This is Danny, and for the week of December 3rd through the 8th, the Sun is in Gate 5 and the Earth is in Gate 35.
This is the cross of consciousness when we get there, and I think you guys will be pleasantly surprised at what enlightenment and awareness are all about.
And if you'd like to book a reading with either Danny or myself, check out the QR code right above me, and you can use code AWAKEN for 10% off. The link is also down in the description box below. And if you've been getting a lot out of our videos, been learning a whole lot, and you'd like to help support our channel, check out this QR code to our donation link, also down in the description box below. And we thank you very much. And with that, let's get into it. So here we can see on our mandala view, we have the Sun in Gate 5, which is fixed patterns. It's a sacral center gate, and the Earth in Gate 35, which is progress or change, and it's a throat center gate.
Part of the thing that makes this cross of consciousness so powerful and these two gates in opposition so important is look at their placements. This is collective sharing, and it guarantees sacral energy right to the throat. It's very manifesting generator-y without all the rest of the connections. Well, it says that consciousness is here to be generated in a way that guarantees we accept the change.
So here we have the Sun in Gate 5, which is waiting in the gate of fixed patterns, fundamental attunement to natural rhythms, waiting as an active state of awareness. Gate 5 is a sacral center gate. It's part of collective circuitry, so you can think sharing as our keynote, and it's part of the understanding circuit specifically. Gate 5 links up with Gate 15, which is modesty, and the 515 make up the channel of rhythm. Fixed rhythms and tempos give the tenacity to stay true to our own inner rhythms, to stay vital, healthy, and always in flow. Finding great satisfaction in mundane rituals and routines that attune to the vibrations of all life.
That attunement is exactly what the name of this gate is keynoted as, fundamental attunement to natural rhythms. And then this second line, which I love so much, waiting as an active state of awareness. I can't tell you how many times I've used this phrase exactly, because when we're waiting, that's what we're doing. Even when we're couch potatoed out, our mind is still in some form of awareness. And when we're really attuned, this becomes what I was saying before. This becomes the comptroller, the attuned governor of making sure we accept the change. This gate 5 is really aiding and abetting gate 15 above it in the channel of rhythm, right? So here comes the vessel of love and gives all of its extreme nature, and it has to accept and be attuned to that rhythm to create a fixed pattern. And at the same time, with its opposition, which is just as wild in certain ways. The experiential expectation maker of Gate 35 has a foundation that says basically attunement to accept rejection. And Gate 5's foundation is about accepting that which is and the steadfastness to basically roll with the changes. As a foundation for consciousness, we're supposed to incorporate the wildness of the experience for Gate 35. That's what we'll do in a moment, but bring it into this fixed patterns that realizes as part of the channel of rhythm, I'm here to finish the process of taking all the extremeness and still managing to make sure it fits inside the body, and not just fits, works perfectly just like the body. You could almost call this gate 5 the gate of the inner workings of the body generated into a life form that seems to wake up every day for 80 to 90 years. So something's doing that, and that's part of our fixed pattern that we wake up in the morning. That is a fixed pattern. Again, what it does over across the way when we get to 35, you'll see it wants ritual. It wants to have the whole world turn into a bunch of fixed patterns. In that, it becomes mundane. I have gate 5. I can't tell you how many things I just do in one quirky way. And that's where uniqueness gets to come out. But the rest of the stuff that it fixes in place, it is riding an extreme wave. If you had to be buddies with Gate 5 and do a ride along for a week, you'd be like, oh my God, we're going through a lot here. A shark, right? It's like all kinds of bear, as we're riding along but somehow or other, the sharks and the bears and all the things and the various whatever get attuned. Fundamental attunement, not just attunement, fundamental to our nature, to all the rhythms, including the boring ones and the fantastic ones. Gate 5 pulls that into this sacral electromagnetic double wide field when it's connected to 15, and allows it all to become organically, naturally attuned, no matter its level of extremeness, no matter the experiential expectation we think we're placing upon it. Because in reality, the real expectation we're placing on it is, I'd love to manifest. I'm good at manifesting. Gate 35. I mean, consciousness is here to be manifested and slammed into the world. Period. It's got the one of the manifesting channel gates. So that just makes that a fact. And as gate 5 says, I put a rhythm in this thing and I attune and fix the patterns, what it really says is consciousness shall survive, and the expectation itself, shall be tempered by acceptance. These are all things that are part of a natural set of patterns. In fact, you can't think of it if it's not a pattern. It exists in gate 5, and sacrally it becomes generated into the world in a way that can't be undone. And hence, all these millennia later, we're still here, slowly altering our fixed patterns through civilization. We're about to move into another thing, and we will do the same thing there. That's gate 5.
The imagery that's coming to me, like a metronome, like when you're playing music and it's like doing the click, 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 click thing. If you put a bunch of them together at all different clicking rhythms, eventually they would all go into cohesion and all click at the same pace. And that's what that makes me think of. Like
Yep.
15 is all the different metronomes going in all sorts of different patterns and directions and rhythms and stuff like that. Gate 5 receives it and it's like, okay, cool, we're just going to keep doing this, and then eventually they're going to click into place and be at the same rhythm.
The waves on the ocean, totally. They fall into a pattern. Half of the planet, at least, is totally aware, and the other half is totally aware as well. The feminine menstrual cycle. You put enough women in one place, and that bad boy collides ish.
We
Is that
sync up.
true?
We sync
We
up. We
sync up.
tend to.
There's a textural sync that becomes a pattern.
Yeah.
Talk about attunement, Moni. Talk about attunement and progress. It's both of those things. So I'm throwing a lot of gate 35 in here, and I'm giving away a little what we're going to do there, but it's needed. It's because it explains so much of why gate 5 is so important and how it serves these two functions.
Next up, we have the Earth in Gate 35, which is progress and the gate of change. By design, progress cannot exist in a vacuum and is dependent on interaction. Gate 35 is a throat center gate, part of collective circuitry, so sharing is our keynote once again, and it's part of the sensing circuit specifically. Gate 35 links up with Gate 36, which is crisis, and the 36-35 make up the channel of transitoriness. Gate 35 is driven by a relentless curiosity and high expectations to explore new horizons, and the sheer exhilaration of doing it, but not alone, with a voice saying, I feel, which usually indicates a desire for change. Focus on collecting experiences to learn from rather than repeating experiences to master them, a taste for new experience, and a need to see what or who is on the other side of the mountain can keep you healthy and alert.
This taste for that change and this desire to move it along can easily be confused, and the keynotes even sort of intermix with gate 42, where it's expanding things, but they're totally different. The change here is the experience that started in gate 41 coming to some kind of conclusion in gate 35. By the way, if you don't have a gate 41 or you don't have any of these, you only have a 35, just recognize feelings and lots of hopes and certain desires and fantasy things are being pressured into you at times, and they want to come to fruition. You want to taste it, you want to eat it, you want to have fun with it, you want to experience it. This is in the experiential, emotional crash wave process. And even just the name says, I am part of a crash wave. It's like an ocean. I'm guaranteed to churn up the muck at the bottom because the waves are crashing on top. It's just the way it's going to go. And so 35 says, I'm going to make everything change. And then as soon as I get there, I'm going to say, been there, done that. And I'm ultimately going to move on from that. And this will show up in the crosses as we read them later in a moment. And it's recognition that it cannot exist in a vacuum by itself, that is dependent on the other, speaks to this sharing collective circuitry, right? So think of the symmetry here. This is a really cool symmetry. We got symmetry between the sacral and the throat. There's a genetic cohesion there, continuity. The sacral and the throat create a manifesting generator. So it's designed to be generated. And you almost look at it a little bit manifestory too. That's a manifestor channel. So it's a little bit of both. So there's that continuity. There's also the continuity of shake it up, fix the pattern. Shake it up, fix the pattern. Keep doing this, and suddenly confusion and doubt can work properly. They get the food of the change to confuse and doubt upon and mull about. They get the continuity of one is the sensing, abstract, emotional side of our collective circuitry, and the other is the logical, figuring it out, understanding side of our collective circuitry. So there's a lot of symmetry in all of these two gates that come together. And by the time you get the rest of the cross in, you see why 35 is so instrumental. Something has to be the impactor. Something better bring this consciousness into form. And when gate 35 says, I feel, that's its voice. People understand the 11 gates in the throat have a unique voice, and they've all got a perfect keynote. This one is I feel. And like Ross said, I feel like a change because now I've been there and done that. Or if I'm in the middle of the experience, I feel like getting to this experience already. I feel like being full of this experience rather than being empty, not having it yet. Big trick to this, and the memo that needs to go out to humanity is the fact that the foundation of this gate is the acceptance of rejection. Because in this whole thing, it has to share, could get rejected. The experience that's happening could all go to crap and it just falls apart. The expectation doesn't get met. That's a type of rejection. So this gate is responsible for putting this manifestory energy upon humanity's expectations. And think of how crazy we get about our expectations. I mean, it's crazy making, war making, all kinds of making, subterfuge making, seven-centered making when we need nine-centered making. So another thing that has always made sense about this cross is that this seven-centered making process that easily compels the not self to forget that it's anything but a not self. This 35, it keeps us wrought with our expectation and desire and wanting it to happen and feeling every moment in advance and imagining it, and all of that diversity of experience that is here driven, manifested, is couched in three other collective gates that also have their symmetry. It's couched with two logical gates and another abstract gate that guarantees it will slow down. 64 doesn't say speed up. It says mental process you can speed up, but not experience. I'm confused. That's what it says. Most people don't really take a step when they're confused in that moment, right? They stop and assess. Again, a definition comes in here that guarantees 35 must wait for the realization before it really, all it can do is act as a big force in this thing. It can't dominate as the manifestor energy has in the seven-centered way. This thing wants its progress. Give me the feeling that I paid to see, that my ticket price says I'm going to get, type thing. And I need to share it with another. And so much can go wrong, hence the crisis in gate 36, this channel of transitoriness that is very sexual by nature as well. That's half the progress humanity is interested in, at least till you get older, if you're lucky. So you take 35's experience, you temper it with gate 5's, collapsing it into like literally form with a pattern that can exist. We can't exist in actual chaos and abstract. We can't exist in the abstract. We can only exist in the logical pattern. The pattern sets the place for us to be, and then the abstract experience is that which floats in and amongst the pattern such that it can live a life. This cross of consciousness, this gate 35, ensures we experience the consciousness of living the life. It's wicked important. We do so within a fixed pattern zone that, like a magnetic pole, keeps it all together. This is amazing keynoting. This is the thing that's going on with 35 as it relates to its bigger picture. And then down here on the ground, on the surface level, we just have to see the foundation of 35 is, hey, I can accept rejection. I can accept the loss of the expectation. A life process will keep teaching me, no, I can just accept that. I don't have to bully through this process. I can simply accept it. And that's what we're supposed to finally get good at. Hey, You want to have an experience? Doesn't mean you're going to get it. You have no right. There is no even privilege by which you are guaranteed this thing. It's not an entitlement. You're not going to get it on the first of every month. It won't happen that way. And very often it won't. Fixed patterns accepts that. Doubt and confusion measures it. 35 makes sure it lands. And you take all this together and you have this amazing transitory movement within a fixed pattern.
Next up, we have our incarnation crosses for the week. First up, we have the right angle cross of consciousness, which adds the 64 and 63 to the 5 and the 35 we've been discussing. People who create their own momentum for growth and development by following their own flow. Consciousness as a fundamental attunement to natural rhythms. Then we'll move into the juxtaposition cross of habits, which adds the 47 and the 22. People of habit with a sense of order that is not easily influenced. Being fixed in their own flow manifests as a habitual pattern or ritual that gives their life consistency. Finally, we'll move into the left angle cross of separation, which also has the 47 and 22. People open to love who are trying to make sense of the past by separating themselves from patterns and relationships that didn't work in order to see the exquisite beauty in and bring changes to the larger patterns of life.
Yeah, so this movement tells a big story in this part of the wheel. Gate 5 is a quarter of mutation. It's there to set up a pattern that survives the mutative process before we get back to gate 13, where we're back into, initiating the life back into the life force. Cross of consciousness that happens here, this people who create their own movement, right angle, right, and their own momentum, the attunement that they have as they're doing that, these are the folks that actually pour the consciousness, one way or another, for better or for worse, onto the plane. The habits folks, which stand in between, and don't forget, the juxtaposition always stands. You can look at it as part of the foundation of the upper trigram. Everything that is 4, 5, and 6 of the lines of this, as we move through this cross, become part of the habit. So these folks with habits, they get fixed. I know someone like this. I know one man with this cross, and that gives their life consistency is because gate 5 is not an awareness. It doesn't need to think. It just needs to be. Look at gate 5 like which is in the sun. Look at it like the seaweed at the floor of the sea, and it's just waving back and forth a little bit. Shallow sea, maybe 10 feet down. You just the light hits it, you can still see it clearly, and it's just moving back and forth. That's gate 5. Moving back and forth successfully with anything that wants to show up. And so that's amazing because in the end of the day, they're using doubt as this comes in, and they're using confusion. And these two processes guarantee a slowing down to savor the consciousness. That's the karma going out. Juxtaposition fixes a pattern with that all. They create millions of habits. There's 10 million of these people on planet Earth. So Earth is scattered chock full of folks putting out this habit energy, which is perfect. It attunes humanity. And then the left angle cross of separation, as I was saying earlier, 35 has this probably one of the most powerful emotional manifesting sections of the body graph. This guarantees it slows down to honor what the emotional process demands. No truth in the now. There can't be, because as the confusion comes in and the doubt, we have to stop and figure it out. And then by the time we've moved to this juxtaposition cross, gate 47 comes in. 47 and 64 make a definition, the channel of abstraction. Now, not only do we have to wait for the confusion now must make a steadfast process called realization. And until then, the progress can't take place in gate 35. Until then, the fixed pattern can't really get set for the new consciousness that is burst forward and due to settle upon humanity is what it's trying to do. Please, consciousness, give humanity its nine-centered way, finally. That's what we're looking for. The new way, the way that ditches the old not self. This cross and this process is bringing us there. The separation is not just separation on the mundane plane from relationships that didn't work or jobs or even places. The separation is very much the consciousness to finally transcend the old way and separate from it. We can appreciate the old way it got us here. The seven-centered way got us here, but it stopped at cooperation. The nine-centered way holds everything about cooperation, but spiraled up into the need for communion, the sensitivity, the want, the desire, all the emotional senses that drive that section of our consciousness, the confusion, the doubt, and the whole knowing process. All of these processes are seeking beauty and communion. Everybody knows it. I don't care if that sounds like a Hallmark card. It's true. And this is the process of separating from the old way, separating that out to finally launch. You shoot a rocket into space, you can appreciate the booster rockets that got you there. But as soon as you get up high enough and those things wear out, you drop them, you separate so you can launch the rest of the way unencumbered by the old way. That's what this cross is bringing us to. And people that are truly open to love, this is an emotional process. By the way, consciousness moving into separation through habits is an emotional process. It's got gate 35 as part of it. And then when you add in this channel of abstraction, that speaks to the emotional process. It just does. So this is designed to separate us and ultimately move into rulership, move into a form of rulership that, again, in and of itself is not even seven centered anymore. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be loaded with grace and contemplation. That's what rulership is now. Not just the strong man, which was the seven centered way, or the most clever Machiavellic one, the one that could just gather the most resources. Rulership in our nine centered human form is supposed to separate from all of that. And that's exactly what this left angle cross says. The poetry behind this movement is practically unparalleled in the wheel, because it says after we separate out the old way, we can move into the new way in a practical way, a right angle way that says rulership. Let's get the stupid out of rulership, and let's get the controlling everything and being the master and the overlord out of the rulership business, and get the communion, the contemplation, and the grace to listen back in. It's the only way this process can end in a way that has stories worth telling. Otherwise, I guess we can all just go to hell in a handbasket. So that's my thoughts on these incarnation crosses.
Finally, we have our hexagrams for the week. First up, we have the sun in gate 5, which is fixed patterns. And in my I Ching book, it's waiting. The trigrams are water over heaven, and the image reads, "The clouds are above heaven, waiting. A noble one eats, drinks, and relaxes with music. A noble one doesn't hover anxiously in the doorways watching the skies. Instead, with sureness and constancy in his heart and fluidity in his actions, he thrives in the present moment. Feasting when you can't cultivate your fields shows confidence, and it keeps you rested and prepared for the moment when you can act. In ancient China, where the ancestral spirits help to bring better weather, you would invite them to share your meals, revitalizing your relationship with what provides for you."
It speaks very much to what we were just saying about gate 5. And I like the word constancy instead of consistency.
Hmm.
It's almost more powerful in a way. And so this pattern, it even had the name, the pattern of recognizing we don't really got to do much but wait, pointing out that, hey, even when the fields are whatever, we're still waiting for it to be ready, so we are ready. And it reminds me of the patterns of, the tiger. How much does the tiger warm up before it pounces? It doesn't. It's just waiting, and in its awareness, it pounces. That's its pattern. Only humans like flex and warm up, and I get you. There's a certain amount of intelligence to all of that. I get all that, but I'm just saying, even that's a pattern for us. These patterns are everywhere, and this is pointing out that there appears to be many different patterns, as long as they're not stuck with their head in the clouds, which I have a feeling, which it literally said, not stuck in the clouds, staring at the sky. That's going to play into 35 when we get there.
It's interesting with the trigrams because the foundation is heaven, which is like the spark of creation. And then on top, it's water, which is about like depth, right? It's the depth, it's the abyss. So it's kind of interesting where it's like you have this like spark of something new and creative, but then it's like, okay, but you have to go deep and you have to be steady, kind of
Have to
is
be
what that
steady,
feels.
yeah. Yeah. And in this case, they gave water the aspect of clouds. Like, I'm assuming it's clouds that are clouds of water, which they are. And there's an abyss in there too, but it just floats. It just sits there.
And then we have the Earth in gate 35, which is progress, or in my I Ching book, it reads as advancing. The trigrams are fire over earth, and the image reads, "Light comes forth over the earth, advancing. A noble one's own light shines in her character. The light emerging over the earth is like sunrise. Just as the sun appears to be daily renewed and sustained by the earth, so the noble one's light emerges from her character, which is the earth she is made of. Her inner quality, her willingness to give and receive, sustains the shining light in everything she does.
That indicates a steadfast, emotionally clear process, trying to get to and wanting to, and having desire and hunger and thirst and all that stuff to get to the process of having the experience through the crisis, through the clinging fire of feelings and the desire that pours out of, pressures itself out of gate 41. You take this whole thing and you take the fire over earth, and it's like, oh, thank God the sun's coming up. And that's just 35's shared experience with its partner, made it through a long night, and they can sit and watch the sun come up before ceremony's finally over and they can go hit the hay. It's a full, robust expression of experience. And then all the other stuff that happens as the fire comes over the earth, because it's talking about lighting up the earth. And that's what 35 would like to do in its progress. Let's light this baby up. Got some Roman candles, set it on fire. What are they going to do? Right? That's when I was a young boy, we had Roman candle firecracker wars with each other in the field. Kindly, we all wore stuff and tried not to get burned. Everyone got burned once in a while, but just to have the experience to light it up and shoot Roman candles, and you have to dodge. They move slow, so you can see them coming. It is dangerous, and that's part of what 35 will do. The experience can't be risk free, so the patterns better be nice and set in stone. Be there. These two gates and these two processes here, they complement each other.
Tying it all together, what can we tell our audience? What can they expect? What can they see here? What can they play with the sun in gate 5 and the earth in gate 35?
You watch the tug and pull to want to do the thing versus the tug and pull that says, well, waiting is an active state of awareness. And then the tug and pull that says, just do it, just do it, just do it. And then the tug that says, but waiting isn't that. So let these two things play out in your life. This is a time for consciousness, guys. I'm not going to give a lot of practical advice like, go write a book or this, that. Contemplate. This is a time to contemplate while you're in movement, by the way. That active state of awareness, look at yourself like the tiger I just mentioned. That active state of awareness is there so that you're ready to pounce. I mean, it's always ready to pounce. It's a generative gate. It's like on, right? 1, 2, 3. You don't have to worry about you're wasting time. 35 will try and take that from you and make you feel, the not self feel like, I have to hurry. I'm wasting time. Wait for the enlightenment. Wait, because part of this cross says I must confuse a little bit to sort of stare at it. Contemplate, then do, and tell me what experiences came through as you went and did all of that and recognized, oh, I wait, I contemplate, now I'm in motion. Like, what's that going to look like? Keep a diary, please. Write it down. You know what? Make a little wish list. Make a bucket list. I guess I am going to give some practical advice. Make a bucket list and see which things you move towards during this week. What things did steps, foundational steps get laid towards the bucket list item? So yeah, I guess I do have a practical. Make your dang bucket list. Sorry, I thought I was just going to get into contemplation, but no, we went on. So
We got something practical. Yeah, that's
mhm.
similar to what I was thinking because starting with the earth in 35, it's like grounded in those experiences that excite us. What is it that we want to experience to be able to tell the tale? I did this cool thing because I don't know, I did it. I got the chance to do it and I did this cool thing and that was fun. And then that's this excitement thing, but it's also like connected to the emotional wave. So it's like if you just go do the crazy thing, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. So it's like kind of being grounded and allowing that excitement. Like Danny said, the bucket list, like I want to go to Peru, or I want to skydive, I want to go surfing, whatever it is, like creating that bucket list, let that emotional wave kind of play out. And then, like, with the sun, it's like shining out. What are those consistent things that you could do to then get to that point to experience that big bucket list thing? Like, before you're going to go like surfing in Hawaii, like maybe make sure you're a really good swimmer and like why not go to the gym and like swim in the pool and like develop those muscles and practice those types of things. Like what are those consistent things that you can start building into to then get to that point where you can do the really cool thing?
My guess is that with the sun's force being 5, I like this configuration because it's raining down these fixed patterns, this waiting as a thing. I'd be willing to bet that much of this fixed patternness dealio in your contemplation is just going to be swimming all around you anyways. You won't have to try too hard in order for the patterns that empower suddenly empower the items in the bucket list, because that's what these patterns are there to do. They're there to empower. When I was growing up, my parents were always around and blah, blah, blah. It became a pattern. It empowered me to run out because I could always go home, right? I mean, those types of things. When there's a good pattern, this show now flies. It works. The patterns there. It makes it guarantees to pull in the experience of me talking. That's why I like it when it's in the sun. It's raining down on earth saying, this is what you're fixing up. Never mind your experience. It's now indulged with all of this. The other thing is in the contemplation through the patterns that will just show up. And by the way, you don't have to see the patterns, and don't try to think about what all the patterns are per se. Just notice that there's so many, they're all around, and they are aligning, colliding with each other. Watch them all sync up and line up, and they're going to allow you to do this thing that consciousness demands we finally get over. It's part of our nine center journey. It's the acceptance of failure and rejection, the expectation not being met, the expectations being ruined, the observation and the fixed pattern that says, you know what, I'm not even really supposed to I have no right to expect fully and feel entitled. Start accepting that. Just start accepting. Watch something crash and burn and see yourself move from the angsty old seven-centered way that said I'm supposed to control it into the accepting communal way that said, oh my God, look, that thing just happened. And I'm the passenger witnessing this is a time to witness your passenger. I'm the passenger witnessing all the things about my expectation. I'm witnessing I think I care about it. I'm witnessing I let it go. And witness as you see that, I'm watching myself. That's the big key in consciousness. That's one of the big steps. As soon as you can witness that I'm watching myself with this crazy expectation, it's yummy. And if I don't get it, I'm going to be fine. This is a time to attune to that. So attune, get conscious, wake up, everyone, right? It's time to wake up. Yeah, it's time to wake up. That's my final message on all of this. Wake up.
And if you'd like to book a reading with either Danny or myself, check out the QR code above, or the link is down in the description box below. And you can use code AWAKEN for 10% off, and you can save a little bit, and we can talk about your chart and have some fun. And if you've been getting a whole lot out of our videos, or you've been learning a lot and you'd like to help support us and encourage us, check out that donation link above. Again, that link is down in the description box below. And as always, thank you, Danny. Thank you to everyone who's watching, liking, subscribing, commenting, hanging out with us, asking us questions, having fun. Thanks for being here with us, and we'll catch you next week for another transit.
So much thanks. Much love, everyone. Till the next time.